After yesterday's sentiment video, I got told that sentiment data was completely worthless and that I'm totally wasting my time. So naturally, I decided to go harder and keep doing it anyway. In fairness, I think they're a little bit right. The fear and greed index has been very popular in this space for a long time, and I think it's mostly worthless. The things that I'm doing is not your daddy's sentiment data. It's a very different thing, and I want to quickly show you today why this is more nuanced. So this is the crypto fear and greed index. I know most of you have probably seen this before. I want to scroll down here really quick and show how this is calculated. So these things show their data sources, which is volatility, market momentum, social media stuff. Like I think on this one they mentioned they're currently doing some Reddit analysis under development, surveys, etc. And this is at the core of why I think people assume this sentiment data is so worthless. It's because it freaking is. Like, there is so much bot activity, so many anonymous people out there that are just like completely controlled or have dumb narratives. And this entire lens through looking at sentiment, in my opinion, is quite worthless. And I think there's a better way, which is what I've been exploring, doing things in a more individualized basis. So, on this trend, I have actually found a user that I think illustrates this in an interesting manner. I'm going to give them some credit here right now. This is one Mr. Stack Hodler. From when I first joined, this account has been a favorite of mine. I'm a big fan of language and writing, and Stack's longer form content was always really inspirational to me because he's farther along in this journey that I've been and very well articulated and shares what's going on in his life. And he's done tons of writings, which makes the sentiment analysis on him quite easy. So for every single user that I ingest, I look at their tweets over time, see how they've tweeted in comparison to the Bitcoin price, and you'll see some of that here. Here's Stackholder's tweets over time, some of the things he's been tweeting about. And interestingly, at the top here, we have the portfolio return if you would invest a little bit of Bitcoin every single time they tweeted, and Stack's doing pretty good here. So I've been delving into lots of this data on different users and some of the aggregate for the Bitcoin community. And what struck me with Stack is that he's actually kind of contrarian in a really positive way. So we're looking at the optimism of his language over time here. Analyze every single one of his posts through an AI model that I have. And based on that data, what I really stuck out to me was that contrary to many Bitcoiners, which really are bull posting during tops, myself very much included there, Stack really is like the most optimistic around bottoms out of everybody that I've found so far. This shouldn't be surprising. He's doing these like very well articulated articles about like his gratitude for Bitcoin and things, which we'll explore briefly. But he's one of the higher signal people I found in the sense where he's doing the inverse of the crowd, where he's really optimistic on times where the market is down, and it's just a little bit less vocal sometimes when the market is up, which is really cool. Just to give you a couple other moods really quickly here, we're looking at excitement for Stack over time, which really pumps here before the ETF approval. And again, right around these times it peaks, which is pretty uh, representative of many Bitcoiners. Gratitude has been a really interesting sentiment level here, in that this one you really see across almost every cohort that I've looked at, that like people expressing their gratitude for other Bitcoiners or Bitcoin rather than being really angry in bottoms. This is him too, which is pretty standard. And he's been a little bit more fearful lately. I know he's been posting more about like the situation in Iran and whatnot. But the thing I want to leave you with here is that these fear and greed index and the old style sentiment analysis, I do also think is largely garbage. But what's so interesting to me about this is that you can analyze people's language over time and sort of compare who's been consistently more correct about Bitcoin or who's been worth following and who's encouraged people to buy on market dips. To me, that is really high value information. And it's like, you wouldn't go around taking financial advice from somebody who's really poor and living on the street. You wouldn't take diet advice from somebody who's morbidly obese. But you're out there on Twitter sometimes scrolling and you don't really know if this person's been correct more often than not. But with this sentiment data, specifically on an individualized level, you can actually kind of get a decent sense over time of if somebody's been pretty high signal or not. And Stack was a really good example of that. I'm going to keep diving in it to see if I can find more of these and share it with all of you, but I thought this was super interesting.